welcome back to the Shuffle Squad. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over the top 10 best decks, including deck lists for all of the decks that have been rocking the metagame since Milwaukee Regionals. That's where we saw the Absolute Mega Kangaskhan deck from Tord absolutely explode in popularity, with many top players seeing success with it. Is that still the case? Well, we'll find out in this video to see where every deck is ranked between my personal rankings, online, and in real life tournaments. So whether you're heading to Lille Regionals, a League Cup, League Challenge, or you just want to stay in touch with the metagame, this is the video for you. Smash that like button, subscribe to the Shuffle Squad, and of course, let me know what deck you're playing in the comments below. Let's jump into our number 10 pick. Kicking off our number 10 deck is going to be Enzoric EX with Toadscruel. Now, Enzoric EX won the Pittsburgh Regional Championships. We saw Liam Halliburton take the crown there, and we saw the Shuffle Squad's very own Aiden Coos make top cut at Milwaukee Regionals. This is his exact list, I'm pretty sure. Now, Zoric is already going to be strong because of its tradability. Being able to draw cards off an ability, often very good. And the only Ens Pokemon we could really copy here is going to be, well, you could copy Enzra, but it's going to be Ens Reshiram. Hitting for that consistent 170. We have access to Binding Mochi if we need to do a little bit more. But we also have that rage attack, so if they add some damage to us, we can kind of hit back a little bit stronger. Toadscruel is going to stop a lot of the Goldango in format, very popular deck, but also can randomly stop other things like Night Stretcher from working, so it can be okay in some other matchups. Monkey Dory allows us to kind of pivot damage counters off of our Pokemon, so if you run into a Dragapult Dusknoir deck and adding damage with Dragapult's Phantom Dive, you can kind of just reflect and deflect those damage to your opponent's Pokemon. I really like the Okie Dokie EX that Aiden added into this deck, so it gives you an answer to Cornerstone. On top of that, a few other 2 prize card Pokemon. Other than that, the deck's pretty standard. It gets the new Eviltal. That is going to be like the Ethan Sudowoodo, but you can just use it with a Dark Energy. Hero's Cape is going to work out well for Ceruledge EX and other Pokemon that can hit really hard damage, including putting a Hero's Cape on your Toadscruel if you run into the Goldango matchup, so they can't really get around Slime Mold Colony. It's really weird that Enzoric is placed so low in number 10, but there's so many good decks in this format, and the metagame is so varied. I have approximately 30 decks built, or 30 unique decks built in real life, and I think that we could see this list often change. So it's not like our Black Bolt White Flare format where there was a lot of decks that were just like, here's our top 10, everything shifted by 1, y'all. We could drastically see the bottom half of this list rotate, and I think there's probably about 20 or so viable decks, and then you get to the end where I'm like, okay, I'm just experimenting at League Cups, League Challenges, but a lot of really cool decks were added in with Mega Evolution, so be sure to check all of those out. If you need any cards, check out our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards, and if you need any sleeves, check out elementsleeves.com and use code Lesage. It's the Shuffle Squad's newest project, and I'm heavily involved with it, so be sure to check that out and support both myself and the Shuffle Squad. Let's see what we have cooking at number 9. At number 9, we have Ceruledge EX with Solrock and Lunatone, the new draw engine that has been kind of taken over a lot of decks in the Mega Evolution metagame. Now, being able to pitch a fighting energy with the Lunatone, if you have a Solrock in play, really gives you a lot of opportunities to just draw cards. And also, when you look at Ceruledge's Abyssal Flames attack, we can get more energy into our discard pile. So that's why we're really heavy on those fighting energies. We also have access to Fighting Gong to search out either fighting energies or our Lunatone Solrock pieces. So this deck kind of has its built-in draw engine, very similar to what we had in yesteryears of Radiant Greninja. Now, once we build up enough energies in our discard pile, we are an absolute massive beat stick deck. We're hitting for 30 plus 20. So let's say we get like 15 energies in our discard pile. Well, 15 times 2 is going to be 30, and then 30 plus 3 is going to be 33, so 330 damage, just absolutely beasting it with Abyssal Flames. And we have those jet energies, so we don't really get stuck when Eviltal is going to be quartering our Pokemon. We have Briar to draw extra prize cards. So the deck's just really draw, discard, attack. So if you're relatively new to the game, or if you just like these big attack decks, Ceruledge EX might be up your alley. I think this is the exact same list that Ross Cawthon played to a day 2 finish, at the Milwaukee Regional Championships. He's one of the best players in the world, and he played this deck. So just because the deck's a little bit simple doesn't mean that you can't add your own complexities to it. I'm sure we could probably change a few cards to your own liking, and that's really where Sarah Ledge is at. Really cool deck. Goldango EX with Lunatone and Soul Rock finds its way at number 8. So we have another deck that's utilized Lunatone Soul Rock, and we've gone from the Energy Search Pro build, where you play all the different colors of energies, to the Precious Trolley Lunatone Soul Rock. So we can get out all of our Gimme Ghouls, including the new Gimme Ghoul from this set that can hit for 10 damage, can be absolutely fantastic into a Pikachu EX, for example. And you just find out all your different basic Pokemon, and we just start ripping some energies with Lunatone's ability. Well, then we can get the back with Superior Energy Retrieval, and this deck kind of works itself together. We also have Soul Rock here, which is a fantastic attacker, something you could do with the Sarah Ledge deck as well. You could do 70 damage. Well, if you look at a lot of Pokemon in format, Ralts, Dreepy, Gimme Ghouls, you can hit for that damage. Also, we have a Premium Power Pro that you could search out with Arven or with Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking, and you could do a little bit of extra damage with Soul Rock to be able to knock out your opponent's active Pokemon. So maybe you run into a Shaman with Vitality Band there, you can even knock out your opponent's opposing Soul Rock and Lunatone. So as much as this deck doesn't have the Togekiss coin flips to draw extra prize cards, we do gain that new Soul Rock attacker, the new Lunatone draw engine. We have Fighting Gong, similar to Sarah Ledge, that allows us to search out whatever we need. And of course, we have enough room for some other techs. This deck has been pretty solid at the Milwaukee Regional Championships. And of course, you have that Genesect to shut off your opponent's A-Specs. So as much as this deck's a little bit less complex than it was before, it might be a little bit more consistent than it was before. Still might end up struggling with something like a Cornerstone Ogerpon. So we might have to come up with some answers. I know that on Twitter, players have been talking about Erica's hospitality to bring a Pokemon from our opponent's hand out to the active spot. We'll see if that ends up being the case. Stay tuned for updates on this deck list as we see the results from Lille Regionals, League Cups, and online tournaments this weekend. A surprising jump to number 7 is going to be Joltik Box, a deck that a lot of people thought was dead, including myself. I took this deck apart because I thought Goldango Joltik was better in the Black Bolt White Flare format, and it probably was then. But now, as we look at the metagame, we saw that Diego Casaraga, our 2017 world champion, played this deck to the Belo Horizonte Regionals in Brazil and had an absolutely strong finish, making top cut there. Now, where is this deck a little bit better than Dango Joltik? Well, the way that the deck has kind of played out, we have a lot of Pokemon with grass weakness, so Iron Leaf's EX works out great. We have access to Crispin, so the deck just got some minor updates, and it just seems better positioned than it was before. A lot of these big decks like Goldango and Sarah Ledge both struggled to Pikachu EX greatly, and having access to Magneton to whip out an Iron Hands EX out of nowhere, having Galvantula and Iron Leafs to deal with Mega Absol, it really just ends up being quite strong. Nothing has really changed outside of it. I think this deck has played 0 new cards outside of the Magnemite that has 70 HP and only 1 retreat cost. It's just a strong, consistent deck. You go Joltik, power up either Iron Hands, Pikachu, a combination of both, one or the other, and then you're ready to kind of blast off turn 2. And the deck is really designed to get out all these different pieces with Nest Balls, Miraidons, so it's quite a consistent deck. The week before Mega Evolution came out, I actually won a League Cup with Joltik Box, so it's a really well-positioned deck in our metagame, and I think we might see it see some success at upcoming events like Lille, Donks, Las Vegas, and maybe even the Latin American International Championships. We're just about at the halfway point of our list, so we have Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX. Now, Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX is one of those decks that really takes the gains from Lily's Determination. We have the opportunity to be a little bit more consistent, and since we're not really taking those early game knockouts because we have that limited damage with Shadow Bullets and Frostlass, etc., we can really control how many cards we want to draw because we can draw the full shuffle draw 8 with Lily's Determination. That's why we've added Tatsugiri into this deck. We're able to grab out whatever supporter we want, and we're pretty consistent with that air balloon strategy off of Arven's or Secret Box. Now, the other big change that this deck got was Evil Tall. Evil Tall, with its clutch stopping your opponent from being able to retreat. The fact that it's dark energy included means that we have free retreat on that instead of having the Miraculous that had a little bit more retreat cost to it. And it just more thematic with this deck. You can see not really much else has changed with this deck. It's very similar, very consistent, but being a dark type attacker in a metagame where Gardevoir has been absolutely dominating regionals, we have seen Aban Ahmed absolutely crush it with 3 finals appearances in a row. And it's one of those things where they're all with Gardevoir. So when we look at Gardevoir matchups and players, the top players playing Gardevoir, we can look at those stats and be like, yeah, I'd rather probably be playing a dark deck into Gardevoir than not. Now, they might say that dark decks still lose to Gardevoir and they're doing something right, but the better you play a dark deck against them, the higher chance you have of seeing some success. So if you're a fan of Marty's Grimsnarl, it seems quite strong in this metagame, and I'd give it a try. There's that Marnie's Rival Battle deck, so if you're looking for the cards, be sure to try to pick that up, or you can pick up the singles from Kayfabe Cards or wherever else you buy Pokemon TCG cards. At number 5, we have the Tord Reklev Special, the Mega Absol Mega Kangaskhan Toolbox deck. Now, I remember the week before Milwaukee, I saw some murmurs of the Mega Absol deck. I had a few players message me about it, and I was like, yo, Kayfabe, messaging them, being like, can you get me some Mega Absols of Mega Kangaskhan? I didn't think I needed them, but maybe I do in the future. And boy, was I right. Mega Absol EX being able to use Monkey Dory with its terminal period to place 2 Monkey Dories, Adrenabrain abilities to put 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon and knock it out. There's a reason why a lot of decks are playing Miss Energies nowadays. We have a lot of opportunities to make things happen. So if your opponent's active Pokemon has 6 damage counters, they're knocked out. So you can knock out a 2-prizer or 3-prizer. You're also dark type, so Claw of Darkness can knock out a Gardevoir EX. And if your opponent just has limited cards in their hand, you could really control what they have going on there. You have Monkey Dory, so you could place a lot of damage counters back if you play into a Phantom Dive, Dragapult matchup. You have Cornerstone that can just block Goldango. You have ways to corner your opponent with Evil Tall and move damage counters around with Monkey Dory. And we have Blood Moon Ursaluna to really hit things through. We also see the first use of the Psyduck promo here, so stopping any of those Curse Blast Dusknoirs from really working. This is the first edition of the deck, and I think we'll probably see a few other players like Rahul Reddy play other renditions of this deck at the Lille Regional Championships, or we might see other players really take this deck to a different level. We already saw that Gabriel Fernandez played this deck at their first Masters Regionals and came 2nd place. So one of those things to consider is that this deck is probably going to evolve a little bit more. The popularity of Tord is up there. And you might be wondering, why is it at number 5? I think a lot of players are going to counter this deck when it comes down to it. So stay tuned for more information on the Mega Absol Kangaskhan deck. This deck's kind of new and breaking news kind of thing, so it might change up a little bit, but if you're looking for the cards, definitely try to pick them up now, because Mega Absol and Mega Kangaskhan are only rising at this moment. At number 4, we have Dragapult Dusknoir, a deck that is no stranger to the top of the metagame, and it seems like players are pulling it back together. It's kind of weird that we had a Psyduck promo, although it's hard to get, be printed that basically says Dusknoir sucks, and this deck is just getting better. Well, what gives? Well, there's a lot of decks in format that are not playing the Psyduck. We can look at majority of the decks, and as much as I think I'd add Psyduck to every single deck, well, we only saw 1 deck so far with Psyduck, and maybe we won't even see any more for the rest of this list. We'll have to find out. Well, Dragapult being able to place damage counters expertly, Dusknoir being able to Curse Blast in most matchups, and of course we have a shell that's been absolutely perfected with that Gumi 35 2nd place finish at Worlds. Now this is the Andrew Hedrick list, a player that's absolutely dominated with Dragapult Dusknoir over the past season, and we see that Lily's Determination gets added in here. We see the diversified line of Hilda and Jacques. We see Professor Turo Scenario in the deck, and nothing else has really changed. We have almost a perfected deck, and we're just like week 1 or week 2 into Mega Evolution metagame. So it's really just one of those things where it's a perfected deck. A lot of players know how to play it. It's good in an early metagame because you can kind of counter a lot of the decks available, and it's just been powerful for a long time. So if you're looking for a solid deck just to kind of get that day 2, get some League Cup finishes, Dragapult Dusknoir seems quite good in the right metagame. At number 3, we're going to see Gardevoir EX, a little bit lower than most expected it. At number 3, Jellicent EX Edition. Now, this is the version that Rowan Stave now played to a top 4 finish at Milwaukee Regionals. An absolute amazing player, a player that I've played alongside in Canada for years. I've truly watched him grow, and he's one of the absolute best players in the game. Now, Jellicent EX being able to stop your opponent from playing item and Pokemon tool cards really can stop many decks in his track. You just get an Oceanic Curse, and the game can be over. Now we see Gardevoir gaining some new cards such as the Curlia and Routes from the Mega Evolution. Not really any of the Mega Gardevoir EX that a lot of us thought might have saw some success. Gardevoir EX by itself is just already strong. And then we see a copy of Lille's Determination, giving yourself another shuffle draw option instead of discarding everything comparatively. Now you might think that it's better to discard cards with Professor's Research, and we might see some changes to the Pokemon supporter line here, because is Iono the best? Well, Iono plus Oceanic Curse is absolutely amazing. We see that Arven can search out whatever you need, and of course we have that secret box technology. Now this is very similar to the decks that Aban Ahmed has played to both Monterey and to Pittsburgh Regionals, and then we saw other versions of the deck that they played, including Enamorous at the Milwaukee Regional Championships. I think that the Jellicent EX version is quite strong, so that's why we have it at number 3. Gardevoir has been absolutely dominating our format, so we'll have to see how the rest of the metagame shapes up with Lille Regionals going on this weekend, of course with League Cups, League Challenges, and online tournaments as well. At number 2, we have Charizard EX. Jackson Ford just won the Milwaukee Regional Championships with this exact list, so of course we have to put it up high on this deck. Now, Charizard EX, with its Infernal Rain ability, being able to accelerate energies, really allows you to do whatever you want. We could power up ourselves, we could power up a Chi-Yu, we could get another Charmeleon powered up. There's a lot of things that you can do with Infernal Rain. So, like I said, Chi-Yu strong against Goldango, EX very strong. We have Dusknoir to kind of place some opportunities to maybe set up our own Briar, to maybe knock out some key Pokemon, to maybe just start board wiping our opponent. And Charizard EX, probably the best Dark-type Pokemon we have available in the game to counter Gardevoir EX. We saw Jackson absolutely cut like it was nothing. Well, I'm sure it's probably some absolute fantastic gameplay, but really just being able to run through some top players like Rowan and running through Aban, absolutely proving that Charizard EX should be favored in that matchup. We have the Shaman to block any of the bench damagers. We have Klefki, so we can lock some abilities out of play. And we have the Jet Energy and Mist Energy. So it seems like a well-teched, well-built deck. And of course, Pidgeot EX is going to allow you to search out anything with Quick Search. Lille's Determination really gives this deck a lot of power to kind of get out all the combos you need. Instead of just having 6 cards with Iono, we have 8 cards with Lille's Determination. That can fetch those things like rare candies, TM evolutions, etc., etc., really giving us some opportunities to search out whatever we need. So Charizard EX at number 2. It's not our number 1 deck of the week, and I'm sure a lot of you are questioning, what is our number 1 deck of the week? Well, if you haven't already, give this video a like, share, subscribe, and of course, let us know which deck you think is going to be number 1 in the comments. It all helps boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, our number 1 deck of the week is Gardevoir EX with Enamorous. Now, Gardevoir EX is looking very similar to what we saw with the Gardevoir build. We have the Curlias, the new routes, all that stuff, and we have the Gardevoir lineup, so that part's really new. Enamorous is what kind of changes the game up here, and it's just a one-of tech. So when I'm saying Gardevoir Enamorous, it's more of straight up Gardevoir EX. Now, Enamorous being able to do 200 damage to your opponent's Pokemon if they have the same type of any of your Pokemon in play, giving us an Iron Bundle option, giving us, for water types, giving us all these Psychic type Pokemon, and of course, Dark type. If your opponent stopped playing Dark or Psychic, what are they really doing in this format, considering every deck is playing Monkey Dory? Now, 200 damage isn't crazy, but it does 10 more damage than Gardevoir's Miracle Force. Now, that means that with double Monkey Dory, we can now hit for 260. Well, 260 is more than enough to knock out a Goldango EX out of nowhere. There's also plenty of other Pokemon that can line up some knockouts for, and it gives us that strong attack that Drifloon would require a Bravery Charm, leaving yourself susceptible to Tool Scrapper, Jamming Tower, and anything else that might end up giving your opponent that double prize card turn. And Amber's is like, yo, you're probably not knocking me out after this, and if you do, you just took one prize card. That's sick. Lille's determination really takes the star of the show here, being able to shuffle, draw, get those big combinations out. We can see we went with more of a turbo build with the rare candies, the turbo energize, and more. So really this list that Abon came second with is going to be our #1 deck of the week. Yeah, he lost to Charizard EX, but he proved that he's able to make finals at every regionals. As much as Jackson, I'm sure, is very happy with that championship win, we see that Abon has come first, second, and we'll see how strong that continues to hold up. I want to see how this deck plays out at Lille regionals, so stay tuned for more stuff and let me close things out. And that's what we got going on for our video today. I've included decks 11 through 30 in my own personal Discord server, and you can gain access to all of that if you want to become a Metafy group subscriber to the Lesage's Aquarium on Metafy. You can check it out on metafy.gg/@ZachLesage, or you can hit me up for some coaching. We're also announcing that the Shuffle Squad has partnered with Element Sleeves, so in the outro, be sure to check out Element Sleeves to pre-order some of our new sleeves. I've been using them exclusively for about a month now, and they've been absolutely fantastic. I love the sleeves. It does support myself and the Shuffle Squad, and it's new to us, but also just like a Shuffle Squad forward sleeve brand. So be sure to check it out, especially if you want to support this content, you want to support myself, the Shuffle Squad, and anyone else that we're associated to. As for me, I'm playing some League Cups this weekend. Hopefully I have a good run. Might be playing some interesting decks since I've already capped out my 4 cups and 4 challenges. But it's always an adventure. We're gonna see. I'm always learning. I'm getting really excited for the Buenos Aires special event in Argentina, and of course the 2026 Latin American International Championships the week after. So we got some events coming up. My next regionals will be Toronto in January. So I get a little bit off a break in December, but stay tuned. We're gonna have more content. And when I say more content, I'm actually planning more content. It's been an absolute whirlwind the past few months. That's just how life happens, but we're all good. I'm excited, and stay tuned for more great stuff. Much love, peace out, and have a great weekend. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. So much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content that we have today, and maybe you'll click on one of these other videos, enjoy those videos too. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what video you want to watch next. Until next time, we'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day.